All right, let's talk about the Lions defense. I think that's an interesting topic of discussion as the Lions, who have been very good this year, 9-3, usually you see a team like this and you're wondering, are they a Super Bowl contender? I feel like a lot of people aren't quite putting them there because their defense has had its, well, quite frankly, bad moments this season. However, they've had some big plays as well, and that's kind of why I want to make a film study this week to talk about the good and the bad this Lions defense can make and, what that can potentially do for them down the stretch. Let's start off with a play like this, which is a stupid play. So, Aiden Hutchinson has not one, not two, but three different players who are going to be blocking him at some point. Now, it's not quite as simple as he's getting triple teamed. For one, the halfback is just chipping him, so that means kind of get him in better position for your tackle and then running out and running a route. The guard on this play also doesn't really have a quote-unquote assigned player. There's no defender lined up on him, so he's just going to help out wherever he feels he should help out. So not exactly like a triple team, but they're all eventually, they're all in the area for Hutchinson. Right off the bat, Hutchinson at this point, he sees that, the tackle, Ryan Ramczyk, who's also a good tackle, like that should be mentioned, is you're going up against a pretty tough competition. He sees that the halfback could run over and try to chip him, so Hutchinson's going to kind of use that to his advantage. He knows he can't go to the outside, so watch him pull off this spin move right there. The guard notices this and is trying to get over, but Hutchinson went so quickly that he's in great position. Bruce Irvin on the other side of the field, yes, he is still in the league, as we all found out this Sunday. Yeah, apparently he's still playing. He's also winning his one-on-one matchup, and if you can get pressure from two different sides, it's probably going to result in a sack. Look, Carr sees Hutchinson, steps back, and because he stepped back, Irvin was able to go over and make the sack. He would have gotten there eventually anyway, but it's made it quicker because Hutchinson created that initial pressure. Irvin was able to come through and get the pressure of his own, get the sack of his own, and I wanted to bring that up just because I brought it up in that way. Because Hutchinson is their star, right? He's their star pass rusher. He's the guy who's going to consistently be getting pressure and things like that. And while there have been plays where he's kind of trying to do it all his own, you know what? If you're getting three guys on him, it's going to open up the door for someone else to just win a one-on-one matchup, and you can get sacks, which can be drive killers. Also, a play like this, another one early on when they had all those big plays go for them, sometimes it's, you could argue this is lucky, you could argue this is skill. It's, to me, both. Let's see what happens. Derek Carr is going to take the snap. He, looks down the field, doesn't love what he sees, so eventually scrambles a little bit and finds a check down. So, okay, I think you could argue this is kind of fine offense, fine defense, right? Defense does a good job of covering everything away deep. Carr has to take a check down, but there is a check down open, so you can still gain some yards. It's a compromise. However, the ball gets batted up, and it's Brian Branch, the rookie, who is able to find a way to make that play and get an interception. To me, that's a really good play by Brian Branch. And yes, is it a little lucky that the ball got tipped like that? No, it's a lot lucky. I mean, yeah, it's very lucky that happened, for sure. At the same time, though, you are going to have certain breaks go your way, even if you're playing against a great offense, right? And if it's your job to take advantage of the breaks that go your way, and that's what Branch was able to do on that play, so I still think it's worth giving him credit for, and I still think it's worth mentioning, this is a defense that can make big plays. It is. And I also should mention, their overall defensive statistics aren't abysmal. They haven't been the worst defense in the league. They've been around middle of the pack in terms of total EPA. They've actually been top 10 in terms of rush defense EPA. However, their pass defense EPA, 21st in football. So definitely some room for improvement. And you can kind of see why when you look at their, cornerback room especially. This is the Pro Football Focus page for the defensive backs, and you see that the safety play has been not bad this season. They have Brian Branch listed as a corner. I think you could argue he's a safety, but either way, he's graded very well. He's been easily their bright spot in the secondary. But guys like Cam Sutton and Jerry Jacobs haven't exactly lit the world on fire this season. And while I wouldn't say that, again, if we're talking who's been abysmal, they've at least been NFL caliber players, which is why it's not like a Washington situation where they're throwing guys out there who just don't belong in the league. I do think that they were maybe hoping for a little more out of a couple of these guys and haven't quite gotten it this season. For example, a play like this, it's going to be zone coverage, and you have a receiver, the Saints have a receiver who's going to try and get into a gap in coverage. Okay, simple enough. We've seen this plenty of times before. Let's see how it works out. As you see, Carr takes the snap. It's actually A.T. Perry, the rookie A.T. Perry, 6th-round pick. He's the one. You see how open he gets in this gap right here. And while this play took a little bit of time to develop, I actually think in this certain concept, that actually should be helping Detroit instead of hurting Detroit. Whose fault is it? Well, you could argue either way, but at the end of the day, you just got to know who's supposed to be covering in that area. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. They need to know whose fault it is, and they need to know who gets over there, and they didn't on that play. So, these things, they happen. When I watch the Lions, these are things that I do see. These are plays I do see. Even something like this, where what's going to happen is it's going to be a man coverage concept, and you have Chris Olave lined up as a slot receiver, and this is one of my pet peeves. If you've been watching this channel, you've heard me talk about this. When you have a team with their #1 receiver lined up in the slot, they are not now a slot receiver. They are still your #1 receiver, and the Lions should know better than anybody, because how often do we see dumb teams put a slot corner on Amon-Ra St. Brown and have him get wide open, right? Like, at the end of the day, Chris Olave is their best player. Kirby Joseph is covering him, which, I like Kirby Joseph. I showed the PFF grade. They haven't been overly impressed with him this season. He had a better grade last season. I think there's some talent there for sure, especially when he's playing Aaron Rodgers, right? But watch how when Carr takes the snap, you're going to see that when he gets the ball over to Olave, he's open. He's wide open on this play. This is a 3rd down and 9, and I have a hard time sitting here and blaming Kirby Joseph, because, you're going up against a good receiver. You're a safety. This is a mismatch. This isn't what should be happening, but it is. So I don't really blame Joseph for this. I just think these are the kind of things that, and again, it's one of those things, too, though, where I'm sure that people could argue, well, who else are you supposed to put on him? I mean, you could make the same argument that Brian Branch is more of a safety. Is Cam Sutton or Jerry Jacobs going to be able to cover Olave one-on-one? The reality is, I think a play like this shows me, they need to do what they can in this offseason to get a #1 corner, I think. But obviously, they have bigger issues now. They're trying to win a Super Bowl now. This could be a thing that stands in their way when they're going up against, potentially A.J. Brown, and when they're going up against, all of the weapons in San Francisco, or, CeeDee Lamb, whoever they're playing in the playoffs, going to have to find ways to slow them down. Even something like this, I mean, okay, Chris Olave, he beats a lot of corners, right? You can kind of live with that. But something like this is Jimmy Graham. Yes, Jimmy Graham is still in the league. Jimmy Graham's still playing football. Actually, weird stat, Graham has 2 catches this year. Both have gone for touchdowns. Tracy Walker, the safety for the Lions, that's who's going to be covering Jimmy Graham. Watch as when this play begins, you see Graham not really giving away what he's doing, but it's going to cut over the middle. Again, Jimmy Graham, not exactly a spring chicken here, right? The guy's 37 years old. I mean, it's gonna, we're not expecting a lot of speed from him. Hopefully, your safety can keep up with him. However, when Graham cuts over the middle, you see he gets really wide open on this play. That just can't happen. It just can't. You can live with Jimmy Graham if he gets schemed open on a play and gets a touchdown. Okay, you can live with that. But Jimmy Graham, who, I don't know if he's been good in the past 7 years, if he's now all of a sudden being able to burn, you for a touchdown, you need some depth there. You need some better players there. It is what it is. As you see, Graham makes the catch, and they're able to get into the end zone for a touchdown. So what do we do from this? So what is my takeaway with the Lions? Because it's weird, where I feel like heading into the year, I had some concerns about the Lions, and I felt like really early on, those concerns seemingly made me feel like, oh, wow, I shouldn't have been concerned at all. I was worried Jared Goff would maybe be a bit, too inconsistent. And while he's had maybe a bad game or two, name me a quarterback that hasn't this year. He's been very good this season. I was concerned about the young defense trying to kind of gelling together. Right away, they looked great. Obviously, that Chiefs game was very good. Although, they've had their down stretches. So what does this mean? Where do we go from here with the Lions? Are they still a Super Bowl contender? I would say they're still a team that can win the Super Bowl, which is still a great spot to be in if you're a Lions fan. I think they're a team that should be considered as a top 4 team in the NFC easily. To me, the way they win a Super Bowl is they get into the playoffs, their offense is great game after game, and their defense can make some plays. Listen, the Lions just beat the Saints. Kind of reminds me of the Saints team that won the Super Bowl. They didn't have a great defense that year, but the defense was able to make splash plays throughout. They got, like, Tracy Porter had, picked off Favre at the end of the conference championship game to force overtime, and then picked off Manning in the Super Bowl to get the pick six and kind of ice that game when it was still just a 3-point game at that point. To me, that is the blueprint. So, are we concerned about the Lions defense? I am. Yeah, I'm concerned. That's my biggest concern with the Lions, and probably why I would still put those other 3 teams in the NFC, the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Niners ahead of the Lions currently, because I do think that's a concern. That being said, I do think that if they can just get a play or two to go their way, they can beat anybody. I definitely believe that. The Lions can beat anybody in football. It's not that big of a concern, in my opinion. So, yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.